Yeah, most people suck and everybody's weird. So what are we left with other than case by case scenarios?
What is that?
Sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true without checking facts first. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I turned a year older since last we spoke to our podcasting audience.
Yes, a year goes by fast.
It certainly does, and I figured I'd open up with something. I like to write. I like to do.
Whoa! Wait,
I messed the intro up. You're right.
we didn't even do an intro yet.
Do your thing, dude. Do your thing.
I'd like to let everyone know that Ryan is ready to roll, so I'm going to make this quick. This is Dave and Ryan, December 1773. Bottom right of the screen, hit the subscribe. Ryan was taken off before I could even get started. So, your show. You take it away. I'm just here to record.
I'm ready today, man.
I'm just here because I have equipment. Ryan's talking.
I feel like I let you down a little last week, so today I wanted to redeem myself. So
can I stop you real quick before we even get going? You feel like you let us down last week. I'd like to point out I talked about this a little last week. Our numbers were growing a little bit here. We're getting more people are watching, more people are subscribing to the YouTube channel and all that. Last week's episode, a little inside analytics. It's the most percentage-based watched video. People watched more of that. Yeah.
Huh.
A lot of people hung around for that one.
Well, maybe I didn't let them down so bad after all.
Let them down. They liked your performance.
Well, we as always appreciate the viewership and the growing December Nation. Couldn't do this without you. We wouldn't do it without you. I mean, we would, but it's better.
No, yes. I mean, we would not film it, but we would talk about it regardless.
Yep, it gets talked about without him. But yeah, the audience makes it seem like a lot less waste of time in a weird way.
I feel like I just made it seem like they don't matter. Like, we'd still be talking about it. Who cares? You guys don't have to watch. Everyone turn it off. We're still going to talk. No,
audience
stay tuned.
Times matter. The audience's times matter. So that's why we're here. The weekly show. So, as I was going into before, I just went off the rails and we had to do our intro over because I'm a little anxious this week. I turned a year older. I turned 29 this past Friday. And I got to say, I do a lot of things, creative, writing, videos, all sorts of stuff. And last year on my 28th birthday, it was late at night. I had a couple brewskis in me, and I wrote down some things for myself, and I put it aside, anticipating my 29th birthday. And it's nothing super personal. It's just something I really liked when I read it. It reminded me of why I wrote it, and I just figured I'd share it with people because, especially in 2020, we're trying to all figure out this world, and I don't have it figured out like the next person, but I'm making amends with the way my life has worked, and that's all we can do as adults. So, I'm going to read it, and then we'll get into our usual program. But what have I learned in 28 years? Love hard and breathe deep. Never be afraid to grit your teeth. Speak with passion. Live by your convictions. Fight for your beliefs and stand against the odds. With wisdom comes pain. With success comes sacrifice. With defeat, there's trauma. The world is too big to feel stuck in a box. Everyone has red blood, but walks a different path. Live every day if it's your last, and remember your blessings. Love is power. Soothe your soul, and always stay humble.
I'd like to point out that between me and Ryan is definitely the more creative and the better at putting thoughts together than I am. That was very, very well written, very well done. But I can't do these kinds of things. Like even just the idea of writing something a year ago and then thinking of reading it again when I turn a year older, like something I never would have thought anything like that. But it's awesome that you do and other people do stuff like that. I kind of almost maybe not jealous is the right word, but I wish I could be more like that in some ways. That was cool.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words, Dave. And I have a bit of advice for you and December Nation then. It's like a muscle. I've put a lot of time. One of the best things I ever did in my life, I started about 8 years ago. I started keeping diary entries. It was just very basic stuff, how my day was, what happened, people I met, conversation, whatever, stuff that I did with my family. So, and I put them in my phone. I updated to the cloud so I would never lose it against all the devices, all that. But it was so that I could have points and like hot spots of the ability to have reflection and how far I've come in my life. So normally I would always write something for my birthday about what I did or how I feel. But yeah, 28 when I wrote it, I was like, I'm going to read this next year. And what I think's beautiful about it is you forget what you write, But as and as I was there, I relived where I was. I could tell you what I was doing, what time of day it was. It was like it's almost like I'm leaving myself these little postcards of memories that I can have these flashbacks. And obviously, I won't have the same state of mind because I'm older. Time has changed. But what it is giving me is the perception. It's giving me context. It's giving me the ability to look at things in a different direction or objecting. And I encourage everybody, keep a diary. Start small, just a couple words, couple sentences. Leave stuff for your kids like that. Leave stuff for your sisters. And it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And it has only infinitely made who I am as a person better. So I write a lot of stuff. I don't share a lot of stuff I write. So yeah.
That's super cool. And there used to be kind of like a little I don't want to say gender specific whatever, but like diaries used to always seem like girls kind of kept diaries and boys tried to read the diaries, you know what I mean? But there's no shame in keeping a diary. It saved Brett Kavanaugh, people know he's not a people know he's
The only piece of outstanding evidence is a 17-year-old's testimony from his baseball games and
all jokes aside. All jokes aside, I suppose this is kind of like my version of a diary too. It's kind of a virtual diary. So yeah, it's super cool. Definitely cool to go back and just that you can know where you were at. But that's definitely awesome.
So what do you want to get into? There's obviously, I figure we should save the VP debate until the end.
Yeah, the VP debate was it was a traditional debate, but yeah,
very presidential, right?
Yeah. Well, one person's running for president, so we can we can keep that to the end. We'll do VP debate at the end stuff. Should we jump into our segment?
We can do the segment. And the reason I want to keep the VP debate to the end is because I think there's some overshadowing news, particularly on the coronavirus front. The plague going around.
Yeah.
So that kind of hijacked the news for like this entire week, which is kind of, given what happened, it's kind of beautifully political, ain't it? That the week of the presidential debate, there's all of this talk of outbreaks and spreading and the president and stuff. We'll cover that in headlines. But yeah, I just everything's going to kind of feed back into that VP debate. It's so harmonious, man. It's these politicians are good at crafting, man. I'll tell you.
Yeah, with the help of media and everything. Yeah, they can know how to craft a narrative.
Yep. Yes, they do.
So yeah, I guess we'll jump into headlines, and then we'll kind of naturally work our way towards the end, where we'll talk about some VP. It was a good debate. I'm excited to get to that. But I got a few. Last week I didn't have that many. And then, you added some way later in the show.
Yeah, we had to go back because
We had to go back. You were like, is headline still going on? Nope, ended like 25 minutes ago. I don't
teleprompter free.
I don't like to keep Ryan informed on how his show is going. With that said, we're going to jump into our
producer, man. You're the number one producer.
Could you imagine if we were a syndicated podcast and we had to do like time checks for commercials and shit? This would be a wreck. They'd be like,
we couldn't do it.
I'd have to be the one in charge, but somebody would have to remind me like, hey, commercials 5 minutes ago. What are you doing? We're not going to be syndicated.
We'll just pay it. We'll pay the fine.
If it ever became an option to be syndicated, I'm turning it down. You can
we'll go to the emerging markets, not the dying ones. Nobody's going to syndicate us, man. Headlines.
Glenn Beck announces he's on the Trump train in 2020. He was notably not on the Trump train in 2016. And then
Austin Peterson as well, right?
Yeah, there's a sub-headline. You must have seen this one. Austin Peterson and Dave Rubin are along for the ride.
That's right. The gay guy that eats Chick-fil-A? Dairy.
Has he been ousted by the gay community?
Dude, he's a gay conservative. What do you think? Which, not to mention, I haven't given Dave Rubin probably his honest shot. I don't hate the guy. You know,
I love Dave Rubin.
Yeah, he's got good arguments. You know, I'm sure he's gotten stuff wrong like the rest of us, but yeah, he's very nice too. You know, like Ben Shapiro, he seems like a genuine person, but he's just real sharp, if you know what I mean. Like he'd almost seem like kind of like a dick, but I just think the guy is hyper focused on what he's doing, you know. But Dave Rubin is more like relaxed and like very nice guy. And, yeah, so that's good. I'm sure that they have huge audiences that will broaden the Trump base.
Rubin's grown quite an audience over the years. I like Dave Rubin. He's going on the good list. Austin Peterson too. I loved Austin Peterson in 2016. I was a fan. Once
he also knew what Aleppo was.
Maybe. Once John, who is one of our admins here, once he decided to shove Austin Peterson to a lake and vote for Gary Johnson with his stupid Libertarian Party delegate. Dumb John. I hope John's watching. I'm calling you out, John. You picked Gary Johnson. He sucks.
Hey, our followers are Joe Jordanson.
Austin Peterson. Yeah, well, some of them will like Austin Peterson. Austin Peterson was way superior to Gary Johnson. And I like Joe Jorgensen, so get mad if you want, but Gary Johnson sucks. Headlines. I had to watch the video of this because I wasn't sure how this came about. Biden pointed at some girls and said, I want to see them dancing when they're 4 years older. So
what?
The good news is, yes, he said it, and I think a lot of times he's trying to be funny and he doesn't know that he's awkward, unfunny, and downright creepy. Yeah, so he's like on stage.
He's 90 years old.
He's like on stage, and there's some young girls dancing, and he's like, "Yeah, them. I want to see them dancing when they're 4 years older." So credit to Joe Biden. He wants them to be older at least.
Were they not of age?
No, definitely not.
Well, like in context, that's hyper creepy. Like, I like what I see. If you were a little older.
He said in 4 years, though, so they might be 18 in 4 years. They might be 17 in 4 years. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like grooming. Hi, Eve.
Happy late birthday!
Thank you.
Bye, Ryan!
Bye, Eve!
I'm getting a lock. People are just coming in.
Get your house in order. I say that, and here I am in a car full of my clothes.
I have a house full of clothes, so I mean, I guess your clothes are mobile.
Hey, just remember, when the wheels fall off, you gotta just change them, you know? So.
Headlines. Puerto Rico Governor Wanda Vasquez Garced, I don't know if that's all one name, endorses Trump for re-election.
How's that possible, David, when he had the big debacle with the hurricane in Puerto Rico?
Yes.
How's that? I thought they all hated him there.
I don't have an answer. I'm just going to say yes.
How can they even vote in Puerto Rico for the president?
No,
Does it work? I didn't think so.
no.
They can vote in.
They're a territory.
elections.
They're a territory, but they don't get taxed and they don't get a say.
Sounds.
They have no taxation and no representation, but they
Which
get
almost
free.
sounds better.
But it's way better. But they get free paper towels. So do what you got to
And
do.
Trump shoots it to him like Kobe Bryant. Trump
Uh,
grabs her by the feet and he dunks on that rim, son.
Trump's stroke on that 3-point paper towel shot was pretty good. I got to give credit. I
Yeah,
didn't
for an
think he was-
unathletic guy, it was rad.
yeah, I didn't think he was athletic, but he could be a point guard. Headlines. President Trump indicates Attorney General Bill Barr has enough evidence to charge Obama admin's officials, including Obama and Biden, with spying on his campaign. The quote was, "We have everything."
This is something we have talked about. We have referenced this at least two separate occasions, but as once we said then, we'll say now, I cannot wait for this to drop. And credit to Trump for spinning it politically like everybody else does. And,
Sure.
I'm sure it's going to drop, obviously, before Election Day, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came around the start of November, like a week till the election and ride like super high momentum and stuff, I mean, Trump's got a lot of points to gain. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but the numbers I was researching earlier, it's double digits, basically. Now, granted, polls could be wrong. They could be X and Y and many other things like they were in 2016. Considering in 2016 they said that Trump had a 1% chance of victory.
Sure.
I guess it's debatable that none of that actually matters, but just at the clear poll data they have, Trump has a lot of ground to gain up, which doesn't mean it's impossible, but
Sure.
he's gonna have to get a good formula going. So I'm anxious to see if Barr goes forward and when that happens. And
I'd love to see that.
yeah, I'm excited because it was always talked about. It was a conspiracy theory for years. And senators talked about it. Other Republicans talked about it. I believe even some Democrats, right? I mean, there was a lot of pieces to this, but it was all downplayed that it was conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see when everything comes out. I would assume there's something there. Headlines. Nancy Pelosi announces bill to create commission that could recommend removing a president from office.
She wants to make a government agency.
A
That-
commission.
Oh, so that's not. What's the difference?
It's
It's a subcommittee, actually.
it's a
You're getting
subcommittee.
$100,000 a year for one person to sit in a room. It's a subcommittee. This is your government dollars at work.
I've heard two theories about this that are really interesting. The one theory is obviously she's trying to prepare if Trump wins again that they can remove him from presidency.
They wouldn't do that, would they?
They literally impeached him. The other theory I heard, which I was more interested in because it's thinking outside the box. She's doing this for when Biden wins.
Ooh, because she wants Kamala.
She wants Kamala Harris. That intrigued
The
me.
sleeper pick, dude. Sleeper
I liked
pick.
that. I love a good, a theory. I love a good theory.
That's super good. Like that's
Yeah.
it's the 4D chess gets thrown around easily, but
Yeah,
you're playing chess there, not checkers.
That's 4D chess. That's serious chess.
yeah.
That's so many D's Kamala Harris couldn't handle it. Headlines.
Even with Timberlands. I don't know
know
why there
where-
was such a controversy, the
I
Timberland
don't know.
thing.
She looks Tupac. Tupac.
She looked pretty good, dude. And Tim's rocking them off the jet. I mean, come on. It wasn't like she looked
She
bad.
was- She was appealing to the black vote.
Oh, that's so racist.
Why? They like a good set of Tims.
Only black people. Wear Tim's, Dave.
No.
Disclaimer, I had Timberland work boots. They were fantastic.
they are a solid quality boot, and all
Very
races
nice.
should enjoy them. All races
Good.
enjoy Timberland boots.
It's the one boot to unite us all.
Headlines. Man featured in Tiger King series indicted on animal cruelty charges in Virginia. That man was Bhagavan Antle, or Doc Antle. You didn't watch the show because you didn't
Seen
care
one
about
episode.
tigers.
No, it
don't
reminded
care
me too
about
much of
tigers.
my father. Just a little
Which
Or
is
addicted
why
to drugs and gay.
Which is why it was the #1 documentary on Netflix.
Guys, I just need to follow my old man around for about 3 weeks.
If someone
Put together
followed him
some
with a
good
camera
shit.
and did a documentary, yeah, that'd be #1 on Netflix too. I was in a car with you and him on our way to DC. Maybe we'll tell the inauguration trip one day. Eve actually brought up filming, if we go again, filming our trip and putting it on the page.
My father actually just spoke to me about going.
Did he? No matter what? Or only if Trump wins?
He said, him and I both kind of came to the thing that it would be cool to go to everyone regardless.
Yeah. It's not that far of a trip, really. I mean, it was it was a little drive, but not super bad.
Yeah, especially 3-4 people that can drive. We're talking 8 hours. It's a 4-hour on. And you rest the rest of the time. Yeah, it's one. You can do the trip in one day to Mordor and back. So it's always a good sign.
I've never made that trip. You can barely watch the movies in one day.
They're literally a half a day long.
Headlines. I like this one. Biden says voters don't deserve to know his stance on packing the Supreme Court. I will say that headline's slightly out of context. And what he was saying was, either way, it's not a good look, but what he was saying was the people who are asking about this and curious about it are Trump voters, and he's saying they don't deserve to know. Because he's not going to win them anyway, so he doesn't care. Which he's probably not entirely wrong.
So we can just void steps that make our government what our government is because we don't want to?
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how if this election didn't show you anything, like they should have been teaching us a better version of civics or something. I mean, like when they, we talked about last week on the podcast about the Supreme Court pick and stuff. Why aren't we just pulling up like the actual articles in the Constitution, reading what it says, and then moving on forward? Instead, these things that aren't issues because they're laid out explicitly in our documents are now political issues, and they are now bargaining chips to sway votes. It's like this isn't civics. This is propaganda.
Sure. And again, we'll get to the VP debate, but as Pence correctly pointed out, out of the 29, I think he's 29 Supreme Court vacancies, presidents nominated in all instances. And we talked about this a couple weeks on the show, maybe, but again, don't be fooled. If Obama had Democrats in the Senate to approve his nomination, he nominated somebody.
Yeah, well, that's what's crazy. People don't go back and look at the context, and they were just quoting Mitch McConnell. But he said it's a lame duck because we have the House. Like, we're not going to confirm this person.
Yeah,
it's not happening. It's not that we're not going to vote because it's Obama or a Democrat. No,
sure, they were in Senate control.
Yeah, we weren't going to pick your guy, so why even waste time? We're not picking them.
Yeah. So for everyone who thinks Trump is playing politics and trying to shove somebody in the court, Obama did the same thing. He just didn't have Senate control.
They literally all have.
Sure, literally everybody. So yeah, maybe it's not political. Maybe it's just constitutional duty.
Yeah, maybe, and we'll even go a step further. FDR, he tried expanding the court to add an extra justice, so we're talking about packing the court right now, which is, trying to stuff these justices on there so that they can basically have the political fulcrum to sway, these issues. It's arbitrary. There's no reason. The Supreme Court is supposed to interpret the Constitution. It's not supposed to be political. It's not supposed to be another wing of the legislative branch that if you're in Congress and you can't get nothing passed, you just go to the courts and the courts approve it from the bench. That's not how this works. We have such murky waters. And like I said, this is just showing the absence of the teachings of civics in our basic society in America. Why America is America.
Yeah. And the courts did that recently with gay marriage I think it was during the Obama administration. And for the record, I couldn't care less. I mean, people want to get married. I don't care. I don't even think marriage should be a government thing at all. It should just all be kept private. I don't know why the government's involved in marriage to begin with. But with that said, yeah, the Supreme Court got involved, and they basically just legislated from the bench, and that's not how it's supposed to be. Again, I don't necessarily disagree with their decision. I just disagree with how it came to be.
Yeah, and then they call it a win. It's a win for it's a win for gay rights. Well, yeah, because you got what you wanted, but it's not a win when it comes to politics, civics, and constitutionality. Like,
and not only that, but just the precedents that get set by doing that. We've talked about this on the program where I don't remember what it was called, where you only needed majority to approve instead of, what was it, 3/4 or whatever. 2/3. I mean, that precedent came back and bit Democrats in the ass, and it continues to, which I find hilarious. But yeah, I mean, you just got to be careful about the kind of precedents that are getting set when you're doing these kinds of things, because when it's somebody you don't like, then you're gonna be mad about it.
Yeah. Well, that was something with Trump the whole time. They're like, he's going to cause World War III and nukes and all this. But like, Obama had literally all the same powers. And that was, they brought up the executive action at the debates and stuff, that he's used executive action, and Trump's used less than Obama. Not saying they're right, but like, you're calling the kettle black, but not looking at your kettle. And I'll touch back on the Supreme Court.
Are you saying that because Obama's black?
Yes. It's also the saying. It's also how the saying goes. I'm going to touch back on the Supreme Court quick, and then we'll move on to the next one. But yeah, the reason, once again, even though it's a win and we can agree with gay marriage and all the pluses to it, the problem that people aren't seeing is that the courts are basically green-lighting top-down federal control of the individual 50 states and the people that live there. Here in this country, we have individual freedoms. We don't have group rights. We don't collectively have the right to freedom of speech. You have the right to the individual ability to freedom of speech, which are very different things. That's the 51% eating the other 49%. That is why we are a republic, not a democracy directly. We vote democratically, but we have a constitutional republic. We have representation of government, not mob rule through numbers only. And, there's a reason why it's always talked about, and there's a reason why it's important. And the most important reason why is because you never want centralized control at the top of something that can control. I mean, just think how big the federal government is in the globe and in our world, and they just pass from the top right down. It's not necessarily a good thing, and everything that can come with a bloated bureaucracy. This is why we don't want it. That's why, we say back to the roots on the program, and that's what it's about, is that limited government approach. And that's why it's dangerous for Supreme Court justices to have political affiliations. You're just an extra wing to the legislative branch, which there's a reason they're separate, checks and balances. But this isn't something we're taught. We're taught very quickly in PIG class, participation in government in high school. They don't really deep dive into civics. They cover it, but we don't retain it, or we don't know it, or.
Yeah, you probably watch like one of those little cartoon videos with the hell is
with the
called?
Declaration, yeah.
How a bill becomes a law.
Yeah, it's from like the 80s.
Those were the great days when you had a sub in class and they rolled that stupid big TV out into the classroom. You knew class was about to be good.
Yeah, and then you start passing notes on paper.
You might have done that. I was an excellent student.
I was a degenerate, Dave. I'm sorry.
I was a horrible student. But I did like history class. Do you have any headlines?
I have points, not necessarily any headlines. I am going to cover, this was a big bombshell in the news for like a half a day, and then some of the virus took over. But Trump was on the Rush Limbaugh program.
Did he do a full 3 hours? Is this correct? I think I saw that.
I was just going to preface that. I don't know, but I do know that I've listened to enough Rush Limbaugh that I know what I'm going to get when I turn on the dial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's consistent.
Biden considering controversial New York Governor Cuomo as AG, as Attorney General with a potential Joe Biden ticket.
Wait,
Andrew
how did
Cuomo, just in from Fox News headlines, just right now.
Like literally right
while we're
now,
on air.
7:10 p.m. on a Sunday.
Yep, right now. Fox News just broke it. But yeah, Trump was on Limbaugh. I've spent plenty of my life listening to Limbaugh. He's, I'm not going to say anything about his program in particular. So yeah, I didn't need to tune in. But when I saw that what Trump said, I'm like, I got to watch this. So I wrote the quote down. I'll read it verbatim because I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of cool. But he was talking about Iran and funding terrorism. And this is what he said, quote, "If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we're going to do things to you that have never been done before," end quote. Donald John Trump. He just said, don't fuck with America.
Do you want to know or take a guess at why there's peace talks in the Middle East?
You mean as far as like why they're happening now?
Yeah.
Because I truly think that Donald Trump doesn't want to be in the Middle East. And I think his solution, people call him rich and all this and like greedy, and he is. Because he understands that even after he's president or his kids or whatever, the amount of business opportunity that peace brings is a good thing. Once again, he said success brings unity. He said that at the RNC. That's why I think there's so much foresight. And he was nominated for another Nobel Peace Prize from another person.
Yeah, he's up to four now,
not
right?
another prize, but yeah, this is the four
nomination.
Different people have put the nomination forward. But yeah, the Middle East peace talk, I think they're basically doing is they're going to starve out Iran and Russia and whoever else is those bad actors funding. Iran has been known since at least Obama to be the largest funder of terrorism in the entire world. Radical terrorism. So that's why Trump's up there saying, don't fuck with us. Iran's been caught flying near our Navy vessels and playing, pussyfooting around with our military. And Trump told them, we're going to shoot you. We're going to blow you out of the water. Like, don't fuck with America. We're done. And I hope the peace deals keep going. I hope they don't get derailed if he loses. I mean, once again, we've talked about this on program. This is 20 years of legislation, of push and pull and death and taxes and all these the tragedies, and it's finally coming to a crest. And then we have media that either don't talk about it or it's like this flyover news story. Like, how long have we talked about endless wars and how they bankrupt our nation? Everybody on both sides of the aisle should be applauding Trump for this.
Yeah.
So it shows their hand. But,
Democrats used to be the anti-war party.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
Wasn't that a big thing?
Good for Trump unzipping on national broadcast television. I'm all for it. I'm sure Limbaugh happily paid that FCC fine. Happily.
Yeah, he don't care.
A couple things on the Breonna Taylor case. I did not do a deep dive on this, and I've been waiting to do a deep dive. We'll probably wait even a little longer, considering it's still such a hot topic news story.
It's a weird concept, waiting for the facts.
Yeah, they released body cam footage, and then I also saw that there was some internal memos. That talked about how they tried digging up dirt on Breonna Taylor after everything happened. And the way the article was reading was that the news was basically trying to ruin her reputation so that it would cast a prejudice on what the police did. So I'm sure that will fuel both sides of the argument. And something else I saw about Breonna Taylor is that one of the cops was not shot by friendly fire. They did a ballistics test on him. They removed it, and they found that it was from her boyfriend's gun.
Sure.
When originally they thought the cop was shot by his partner behind him or in crossfire or what have you. But no, they have direct ballistics evidence. So we'll just see where this keeps going. The October 15th debate that was going to happen got canceled. It was in question.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and this all stems around Trump catching COVID. And apparently, of course, we said this for a while. Trump should hold rallies with masks and social distance. He should look like he actually cares about not trying to kill people's grandmothers, because that's what the news is going to run with. And then, of course, Trump tests positive. and that's what they run with. Thousands of people, outbreaks in D.C. Republican congressmen can't vote on Supreme Court pick because they're COVID positive, and it just the bullshit train was fired up, man. And it's his own fault, because he's Trump. He did Trump things, and yeah, I don't know if it makes him look like a bad leader or anything in particular. I think it's a little symbolic that he caught it. I'm glad he's okay. He says he's fully recovered, and that he has no symptoms. He went on a cocktail of drugs, and he said it saved his life. So
Sure.
That's good. Good to know. And once
So
again, all you people that want socialist healthcare, Trump was saved in America, not in England. So thank you very much.
Did he trust the doctors and the scientists, or is he still anti-doctor and anti-science?
I think he just funds his own doctors. Isn't that how they work? Or That's right. You can't corrupt doctors, right? Is that what we're told?
No.
Yeah,
Money
can't corrupt doctors, but you don't trust the Trump doctors.
Sure.
Which aren't even Trump doctors. Remember when he was calling them Obama judges? It was just because they were appointed under Obama? The Trump doctors. I've been a doctor for 15 years. You're a Trump doctor.
Trump doctor.
Trump doctor.
Stupid
Of course,
Trump doctor.
and I think we talked about this too. The hydroxychloroquine, you referenced that. Why didn't you take it? Just all these talking points coming back. And this is something that has been a problem for Trump, is he just doesn't know when to shut up. But I got a couple other things here. Social media monopolies are social media is being labeled a monopoly. There was a bill put forward in the House of Representatives, and they want to get traction going to try to break up social media as monopolies.
How is it a monopoly?
They reference that with how much power they have in the political sphere because of election interference and everything else. They think some of our elected officials believe that they have too much power and they can sway public opinion too much. They can censor people as well, which is something that's been happening more on the right side of the political aisle than the left, which is ironic. So yeah, that's their argument. We'll see what happens.
I get all that. I just don't understand how that's a monopoly.
I don't know. They built something that's good. I was seeing things about Jeff Bezos and stuff, and then what's incredible to me is people like Jeff Bezos doubled his net worth right under COVID. Well, the guy built the system to make you be able to buy things without needing to go to the store. Like we're saying it's a bad thing that this guy, he's probably saved people's lives with Amazon.
He definitely did, for sure.
Like they talked about social distancing and less people in stores. Well, what a better way to do that than to drop the stuff off?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me that we can hold all these duplicities. We forget that multiple things can be true at the same time. So, but yeah, as far as the social media programs, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and all the ones to come, they have for far too long played both sides of the coin. They have said that they are a free and open platform and anybody can publish anything on there, and they are just there to review. And then they have also said that they can take down anything that they want because it's our platform, it's our private property.
Sure. So, and that's not what a platform is.
No, you either are a publisher or a platform. You cannot be both. And Facebook and all the social media have tried to be both. They've been able to be both, and that what has allowed not just election interference, but the censorship, shadow casting, just everything that social media brings.
Yeah, I've talked about this before, where people incorrectly label this as a First Amendment issue, and it's not. What it is a legal issue about their legal designation as a platform. Now, platforms can have rules. They can say you can't say these things, but they have to evenly apply them to everybody. A publisher can censor and do whatever he wants, but he doesn't get some of the same legal benefits as a platform does.
Yeah, they were cherry dipping, and now they're trying to get the Goldilocks. Our congressmen are trying to get Goldilocks effects. Honestly, our elected officials can understand social media enough to mitigate bills about it. When Zuckerberg was up on Capitol Hill, Zuckerberg had to repeat answers and explain things to people, that basically a 14 and 15-year-old girl understands. and our elected officials don't understand it. These are lawyers that write legalese so that there's civic duty and civic law that rule our lives, but they don't know anything remotely about the discussion about the topic. You know, and especially it's funny too that it's social media, but then we hand it off to the least social people in our society, the people that only talk amongst each other. You know, the people that do business deals and backdoor deals or good deals, and you know, we're trusting the same people that rape us of civil liberties to be objective and not. I can't trust it. I can't trust them, and I don't think you should either. Texas Rangers served Netflix a summons for the Cuties documentary.
A summons?
Yeah, that was a headline. I did not investigate because I figured more would be coming, so I did not waste my breath. But I think it's.
I was going to say, I wonder what for specifically.
It was just they served papers, and they were going to basically go after them through the courts. So this could be a battle for years. I know that one of the guys that worked on Cuties actually got caught with child pornography. So I know we've discussed Cuties on this program before, and I know what I've said about it, but multiple things can be true at once. The documentary can still be made for a good purpose, and perverts can still work on the film without people knowing about it. So Cuties has been a meltdown for not only Netflix, but all of society, and now politicians are riled up. So I guess Texas is on fire.
Nope, that's California.
California's on fire. The White House wanted to hold an event on Monday. This would be the first rally after Trump tested positive for COVID. He has been seen a couple times. I believe he did speak with a small crowd in front of the White House the other day. So he's wearing a mask and doing all sorts of shit. I thought the video of him getting dropped off by Air Force One and everything was high production value and very good television, but it's awfully silly. Go back, get to work, winning the election, get people stimulus, whatever you promised. Go do what you promised. Don't sell me, a teaser trailer for your election cycle. That's not why I'm here. You touched a little bit base on this. Pelosi wanted to use the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office, quoting that he is not mentally fit.
He's not mentally fit.
Something along that. It was about health concerns, about him being sick, unable to do his duty, whatever.
Physically fit or mentally fit?
It's funny. I bring up how our politicians, they don't pull up the actual law. Well, she did. She went and got the 25th Amendment and a magic marker and highlighted the portion of the amendment that she was trying to get Trump with. But if it's Second Amendment, First Amendment, SCOTUS pick, Constitution, those are that's a living document.
It would have been interesting.
Interpreted.
It would have been interesting to see her do that with the impeachment hearings, but there was nothing to go off of there.
I'm not expecting politicians in the media to teach us civics or public education, but it's really showing, dude. I mean,
so what you're saying is you're not expecting. You have very low expectations.
Yes. Because I believe in the individual, David. I take things on a case-by-case, person-by-person basis. And, most people suck and everybody's weird. So what are we left with other than case-by-case scenarios?
What is that? Most people suck and everybody's weird.
Yeah, dude. That's the way it rolls. We're not all good people. I understand this.
I guess.
It can go a long way, though. No? All right, now that I've gone off the rails with insulting most of my listening audience.
You didn't, you could have got away without saying that. And now people are suspicious that maybe you're talking about them.
Like, this guy is straight talking shit about me. I watch his videos every week.
Our audience, you guys don't suck. I'm sorry, Ryan thinks you suck and you're weird.
I got words put in my mouth there. They were my own words. Hey, at least we don't have a Patreon wall. Regal Cinema is closing all of their locations in the United States and the United Kingdom.
Wow.
Yep, they were citing basically that with COVID, the movie schedule has shut down. I don't know if I didn't see any I didn't see the word bankruptcy. So I'm assuming maybe they're just powering down. They'll open next year when movies are more regular.
It's a temporary shutdown, probably.
Yeah, this may just be a situational job closing. But you got to think. I'm sure Regal employs quite a bit of people. Unemployment numbers go up, which will lead right to my next talking point here. That the stimulus check had another fallout this past week. I'm glad that our elected officials are more worried about fighting over who caught COVID from a screen and not wearing masks than actually getting the American people money or relief that they have talked about for, let's not exaggerate, the better half of this entire year. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of being lied to. And go vote. We got to vote these people out. It's the only way to change it. Trump medical records. Another thing I think is funny. We have federal law here. There's something called HIPAA. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it's basically doctor-patient confidentiality, that your things cannot be released without your consent and all these things. I'm sure everybody that's listening has dealt with this at one point of their life. Democrats wanted to violate federal law and have Trump's medical records public knowledge.
Yeah, I remember. That's the first thing I thought too. Was like, isn't that a massive HIPAA violation?
Yeah. If in the nursing field or in hospitals, the nurse can't go next door and be like, yeah, the guy I got next door has gangrene or something. She can lose her job. She can be sued.
Sure.
There's a whole bunch of statutes.
And they're publicly asking for things like, is he on oxygen? Straight to jail. That's what I like. Send him straight to jail. You can't ask. You go straight to jail.
Now, once again, Nancy Pelosi can pull up the 25th Amendment and highlight what the only part of the amendment she wants you to focus on with that highlighter. Go pull up HIPAA and show me where it says that the president has to release if he's healthy or not, or has to release his medical records if he gets a fucking disease. This is arbitrary. This is political banter, and this is just another talking point to try to steal your vote or sway your opinion. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of this. This is a reoccurring theme with the Democrats. I don't recall Republicans being like this with Obama.
Well, not quite this bad. There was the whole birth certificate thing. That got pretty obnoxious after a while.
Well, I mean, I'm glad it came out that, whatever. But when you guys saying his dad's from Kenya, he's, okay, let's look into this before we just push him along.
I almost want to say it. Maybe I just changed my own opinion. I was going to say I would have trust that they would check that before he ran for president, but you know what? They probably didn't.
I mean, they don't know what Facebook is. I don't know if they know what citizenship means anymore. This is why it's important that we, the people, right, have civics. It's so funny to me. Our founders gave us the keys, and they're like, here you go, take care of it. We're like the teenager that crashed a car and came home late. What the f*** did you do? Oh, I hit a mailbox. But it must have been a big mailbox. Whole car tore up, That's the allegory we are right now. They gave us civics. They gave us constitutionality. They gave us all these things, checks and balances. They need an educated populace about how things are done. And then now that we don't know any of that, we're relying on politicians that are millionaires. But we need to tax the rich. It's the rich's fault. But most of Congress makes money that you and I, the average person, will never see in our lifetime. We will probably see what they have in net worth is what we'll probably see in our entire life. You know what I mean? Like total.
I forgot what the number was.
Yeah, the average person makes just over $1 million in their lifetime. If you work for 60 years at, whatever.
There was some number I heard. I don't want to totally throw this out because I don't remember what the number was, but it was like 80-something% of Congress was all millionaires. And I don't care. I mean, I don't care.
I don't care either. Don't tell
in
me to tax the
particular.
rich, though.
Two things about it though. One, yeah, it's super hypocritical. And two, how they got their money can be a little suspicious.
Are you saying Congress insider trades, Dave?
Yes.
I thought that's illegal for people like you and I.
It is. That's why they don't tell you.
Washington Post will tell you. New York Times got news articles about it. Look it up. Congress insider trading. You'll get the headlines. You'll get the articles. They talk about it. They break it down. They do it. They did it with COVID. They, knew it was coming. People sold stock, got in trouble.
Yeah.
Rinse,
You don't think they
repeat.
did it? You don't think they did this with GM during the bailouts?
Never. Hey, I'm going to sell all my government stock, my stock in GM, and then the government's going to buy it up. And then when it's back up, I'll, make my money back. Another quick Trump point. He failed to get his taxes blocked again in some circuit court. I believe it was New York. I don't know what people's infatuation with taxes are. When all of Congress knows how to lobby and knows how to avoid paying taxes, and they all do it. If they had better tax laws, or our country didn't have the debt we had and had a balanced budget and not austerian economics or any of these crazy quantitative easing when it comes to interest rates on the Federal Reserve. Maybe if we didn't have all these things, the people would bring their money here and it wouldn't be in offshore bank accounts or in Switzerland or in Sweden or these countries that have low tax havens that lets them funnel their money and change hands and rinse, repeat, and then we don't realize it for a decade. This has been going on for a long time. They've known about the offshore accounts for a very long time. Let's lower taxes. Let's have them bring the money in. George Bush did something. I forget what it's called. But he allowed corporations and people to bring all their money from offshore bank accounts and pay a one-time fee of tax on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I don't know, flat tax or something along those lines. But, so they basically, people looked at it that Bush was helping out his buddies, which could be true. I'm sure it was like hey, dude, I got $10 million there. I'd love to donate to your campaign and maybe build a business, over here, bring some money into Texas or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's how one hand washes the other. Not saying it's right, but that's how things get done. And have them bring their money here. I know they're trying to turn the tax thing into that Trump pays less than the average American. How can he say that he cares about Americans when he's basically not doing what Americans do and everything? But, once again, we've talked about this. This is what happens when you have knowledge, wealth, and power. You know how to play the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I mean, that is the saying. But in the Trump case, they're attacking the player, not the game.
Yeah,
because they're playing it. They're playing it too. Closing. Eddie Van Halen died. Sad day. I don't know how old he was. He lost his battle to cancer. I think it was like 65.
65. Yeah.
I like classic rock. I enjoy it. I like the more modern heavy metal kind of stuff. My boy Slipknot there, Corey Taylor. I like that kind of stuff. I understand that it all came from the roots. I respect it. But honestly, I didn't cry or nothing. I didn't feel like I lost a part of my soul like I'm sure many people out there did. I know it has nothing to do with politics, but it is it's human history. They were important.
Yeah.
They shaped a generation. And life goes on.
Yeah, we saw Van Halen at during like a few years ago.
Did you?
Yeah, super good.
Show?
Super good. Yeah.
It's good. They were jamming good, man. That's something they probably always feared. Like, man, I don't want to be that band that's been doing it 40 years, man. And we're just like retired up there. Like they want. Glad to see they're still trying to push some things and put on good music. That's awesome. It's got to be hard to have longevity. It's in any industry that's creative.
I would imagine so. You almost have to
I
constantly change in a way.
Yeah, and that that's kind of the battle too, right? Oh, I don't like their new music. It's not like their old stuff. It's like, well,
sure.
I wouldn't evolve as a musician, or you would get bored, or I would get bored if I just made the same crap every day.
Yeah.
Like, not calling their music crap, but if I made the same thing every day for 30 years, you're not going to have the same passion. You're not going to want to play guitar. You're not going to want to sing the riff. Like, that's all part of the creative process.
Definitely. Can't keep it the same.
I have one last point, and then we can kind of break down the VP debate. Facebook will halt political ads on November 3rd till after the election.
Okay. That's kind of weird.
I think it's super weird. I don't know why you do it in November, not now.
Because they want to sway the election.
Super Tuesday is going to be a hell of a Super Tuesday, man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I wish I could go to, in 16, I was actually at a bar enjoying beers with my coworkers and watching Trump kick Hillary Clinton's ass all over America in the Electoral College. I wish I could do that again this year, but the invisible enemy has taken that joy from me. So
maybe we'll do a live thing.
so
I don't know if I can go that late. Last year I went into the early
it's
AMs.
1:00 in the morning. Yeah.
Fall asleep right on air. I don't care.
So yeah, VP debate. I did not watch it. What I did watch was all of the fallout afterwards.
We watched that one.
Yeah. I didn't put too much time into it because I had my other points this week.
Sure.
But I knew that you took care of it, so I was kind of relying on you.
And to an extent, it's a VP debate, so it doesn't quite matter as much. Even though it was the more traditional of debates, more substance, more kind of respectful nature, I would say.
Well, that's kind of the thing about this debate that people thought it would draw more crowds is that, like, well, we have to worry about what if Trump dies from COVID, or what if Biden is too old? Like, it's kind of like you could be potentially seeing your future president.
Good.
But yeah, funny, once again, we did it with the Trump polls, and I'll do it with this poll. Depending on where you looked, I listened to the radio all week. We have a hip-hop station here. So obviously they probably lean Democrat. They do Steve Harvey's on there and stuff.
Sponsored by Timberlands.
Yeah, everybody. And White Owl cigars. Yeah, everybody's calling in, man, Kamala kicked his butt, and the fly on Pence's head, and
the fly was pretty funny. It was entertaining. I don't know how you don't feel a fly on your head. You would have to feel that, right?
He's the Antichrist. Only explanation. Honestly, dude, I wonder if he's just that focused on his image.
No, that's focused.
Like,
that's too focused.
I mean, like your posture, what you're
like
saying
you can't.
next.
He can't take turn to.
Well, dude, what about one of these?
He should have freaked out, started hammering, trying to get that thing.
What he should have done, Trump would have done this. Like, it's the Russians. They sent one of their drones.
Could you imagine if he smacked that thing, killed it on air, and PETA started freaking out because he killed a fly? Animal abuser Pence.
Yeah. So would you? What's your breakdown of the debate? What was the substance and stuff? Was it? I know, we touched base. It was definitely more presidential, more reserved, no interruptions.
Yeah. I liked Pence had some really strong. There's one thing I do like about Pence. He is a very professional, respectable. He's anti-Trump, is what he is. He's the most.
He's a good statesman.
He's the most opposite person of Trump. He's bizarro Trump. I don't know how many people are. You could not find, maybe not politically, but as a personality, you could not find a more opposite Trump than Mike Pence. But he did a good job. He held Kamala. He held her to the fire a little bit on a lot of things, a lot of topics. One thing Kamala did, Pence would have gotten raked through over the coals for this. Kamala did some. It's called mansplaining when a man does it. But Kamala did some woman-splaining. She overly broke down and had some real. She explained what debt was on air. Who doesn't know what debt is? It's a joke. I don't know. I didn't
College kids.
She's like, debt. That means you owe money to people. It's like, thanks. Thanks, Kamala.
Yeah. You know who got us in debt? Politicians.
Yeah. So
I have to build my checkbook, and you just burn money. How are we? How is this sustainable?
It was in context talk. They were talking about Trump had debt and he owed money to people, and how would that affect his policies? Which I get where she's going with it, but it didn't come across good. One thing I really enjoyed. They had a little back and forth about the Trump tax cuts. So Pence says Joe Biden wants to raise taxes on every $4 trillion of taxes on all Americans. And then she goes, well, we're not going to raise taxes on anybody. And he's like, well, you just said you were going to end the Trump era tax cuts. Yes, but we're not going to raise taxes. He's like,
You know
well,
what I'm hearing here is if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
He's like, that's not how that works. He was acting. I don't know if he was acting confused or he was literally confused, but he's like, you just said you were going to end the tax cuts. Are you only going to end them for some people? Like he's trying to get answers, and then she totally evaded it. He held her to the fire a little bit on the Green New Deal some more. Of course, they totally just ignored that question. And then they, of course, got her on the Supreme Court, packing the court, and she evaded that question too. So, yeah, there was some good back and forths going on. But all in all, obviously, I'm not a Kamala Harris fan. I thought she did a pretty solid job. She did what Joe Biden needed her to do. Pence did what Trump needed him to do. They both did what they were supposed to do. Who won is irrelevant because it's a VP debate. But it was overall, it was the more traditional of debates. It's probably the most traditional debate I've seen in probably a long time, before 16.
Well, it's kind of crazy, right? Because at this point, it seems the VP pick is like the lightning rod for the people that are maybe more, I don't want to say less extreme, but like, you know how like some Trump supporters are. We're going to make liberals cry. And then Biden supporters are like, you dumb trumpets. You know, like I feel like that VP debate is kind of, like I said, I don't want to put it this way, but the more reasonable people.
It's funny
like,
because
you're kind of winning that demographic over, like the blue collar people or people on the fence, or that's kind of like you said. That's what both campaigns needed because it's giving that that different phase of the presidency or the administration and the platform.
I see what you're saying, and I agree with it. The interesting thing about it, though, is Kamala Harris is far to the left of Joe Biden, and Mike Pence is far to the right of Donald Trump.
Right,
so
Trump,
it's interesting that like it's bringing the people in the middle together. It's just it's a weird thing.
Yeah, and it's done with character. You know what I mean? Like
it's all entirely.
It's like the leadership. I don't want to use that word, but yeah, it's about the character, which gets into morals and other aspects of life that you can't really like put on paper on what makes you good or bad and stuff. But yeah, that's how I feel like it was received. Like once again, now that the Trump and Biden are out of the way, it's like, all right, you got the crazy people out of the way. Let's have,
let's have a discussion.
Yeah, the average American, not somebody that's polarized or hyped up or one issue voter. These are the people that actually, they have a couple issues or they have this or they like Kamala for this, but it is weird that they're super polar opposites of their running partner, but they're bringing the people, that are like more closer together to them parties.
Yeah. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, elections are getting odd, aren't they? The Trump era of politics. It kind of makes you wonder what era of politics was before that. 9/11 politics, post 9/11.
I don't know.
Is that what?
I don't know, but do you think it continues when Trump's gone? Not like dead, but like beyond Trump's presidency. Do you think like they continue the style?
Maybe not style, but I do know that Donald Trump changed politics forever.
In a way, yeah.
You don't come back and win electorally in a landslide, but lose by 2 million popular vote and have it a contested election and the impeachment trials and the controversy, the Russiagate, the Spygate, the grabber by the level of things we've seen. They're not going to go back on. The news they're cutting their ads and they're getting their ad revenue. They're pushing what they want to push. The narratives are getting pushed. Yeah, no, you don't come down from this. It's gonna take somebody else to break another ball, and usher in the next era of political phase.
To a couple things we're going to be doing in future episodes too, so everyone knows to stay tuned. We're going to have the Halloween episode coming up in a couple weeks. We're going to be
my costume.
We're going to be masked up, costumed up. I'm ready. I got to find a way to see out of mine. It gets quite foggy. We're gonna likely do some kind of prediction show before the election, I would imagine. Because it's
you mean like pick the states and stuff?
Yeah, it's Super Tuesday. We're gonna be, I don't know, Maniac Monday. I don't know. We're gonna try and figure it out. We're gonna put our own predictions in. We'll see who gets closest. For the record, I was horribly wrong in 16. Not even close.
Yeah, I thought Trump was going to lose.
I definitely thought he was going to lose. I didn't think it was going to be close either.
Have you experienced this? I've been driving around different pockets of my neighborhood, even further away from me, like a little, more country town, and then more in suburbia, more in the city. You never see city ads normally, but it's kind of funny. There's a spot in one of the suburbs, and it's like on one side of the street, there's like 3 Trump signs, and then the Biden guy's next door. There's a Biden guy across the street. It's almost like they got into a sign war. Like, I'm going to go buy another Trump sign to shut that Biden guy up. Like, it's so funny. I don't know if anybody has experienced it out there, but
we have an interest. I will say this: there's a weird amount of Biden signs in my area.
Yeah,
I'm in a more, I don't know if it's necessarily rural, but I'm in it's definitely not a city in Pennsylvania, and I didn't expect to see as many Biden signs as I've seen. There's definitely a lot of Trump signs, but like in 2016 there was like, I don't know, 2-3 Clinton signs. There's a good handful of Biden signs.
Well, and one Joe Jordan. Only 2 cities in Pennsylvania.
And I'm not even close to either of them. And there was one Joe Jorgensen sign. I used to see it every day on the way to work, and now it's gone. So I don't know if they moved, if it got demolished, or he's not voting for her anymore. But it's gone.
It had to be the mailman. Only reasonable explanation. Because that's what a guy that cares about making $50,000 a year cares about, is your political opinion when he's dropping your mail off. Maybe
it was the mailman. Maybe that's where the mailman lives.
The mailman was pumping out black sheep 20 years ago. You had an extra brother floating around that didn't look alike. Well, maybe now his job's to just switch political signs,
Unlikely.
Benjamin Franklin would be proud. First postmaster general.
Benjamin Franklin was many things. You know what we didn't talk about?
What?
You know what we didn't talk about? Tomorrow, which is the day when you're watching this. It's Columbus Day.
Ooh, racist Columbus Day.
No. Well, yes. Columbus was something you learned about in school, right? Yes. Sort of, in a way.
1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Yeah. You learned that much.
Yeah, and the thing that I never knew until very recently, actually, was that he never actually came to America. He landed in the Caribbean.
He was close.
He was close. But the people that say that he came here and murdered Native Americans is a lie. He didn't.
Well, somebody did. A lot of people did.
Yeah.
It's not really... It's nobody's fault. The Native Americans, I hate to say it, they were working with old technology.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you're separated from half your ancestors for millennia.
You know what else doesn't help is when you're constantly fighting other tribes and killing them off.
We take slaves, sex slaves, and we scalp people.
You killed each other for years.
Mushrooms before a battle.
They killed each other for years in the most savage and ruthless ways, and then some Europeans come in and clean house, and I guess they're the bad guys who stole the land.
Even if they bought it from them fair and square.
Sure.
Well, it's not fair and square because you came and showed up with guns and blankets with disease. Okay.
Yeah, I'm supposed to believe.
They thought the world was flat, that you would fall off the edge of the fucker.
I'm supposed to believe
microscopic bacteria.
Yeah, they were so scientifically advanced that they were making disease-infested blankets and handing them out to kill the natives. Give me a break. People are out of your mind if you think that's what happened. They probably did have disease-infested blankets, but the idea that they were cooking this up in a lab somewhere, 5 drops on the small blankets, 10 drops on the big ones. Come on.
This is going to a kid.
They literally thought Earth was flat. People still think that. But again, you wouldn't believe they were doing disease warfare either. It's a joke.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, who really knows? I don't necessarily believe, like kind of what you said, that it's this primary thing. It probably happened by proxy or an accident.
Yeah, I don't doubt it happened.
When the Romans would come through and clean out, they would dig up the ground and bury salt in the ground, and it would suck all the nutrients out of the soil, so that It happened a lot during like when there would be slave revolutions. They would just come and dig the ground up, bury salt in there so you couldn't grow any crops, and then you would be dependent on the Roman government to feed you. And it was just basically a way to make you comply. You know? And I'm not saying that's what the Europeans did, but I do understand the precedent why people get upset about Columbus Day, but he never came here. You know what I mean? And quite frankly, there's not a speck of land that's owned by its original creator. Everything's been changed. Everything's been switched and bought and sold and stolen and killed over and loved after, and marriages and divorces. And this is the human experience, you know, and like, it's so easy to look at the past with rose-colored glasses and hindsight and make these very broad brush things that, you know, all Europeans were racist and they came here to steal from Native Americans. And when most of the time they were just refugees, really. You know, they left for religious freedom, to pilgrims. You know, and they had Thanksgiving. They sat down and were thankful with the natives that taught them how to man the land and everything else. And, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I just want people to realize Columbus did not come to America. He landed in the Caribbean. And even then, I read an article, he said he took slaves, brought them back to the Queen of Spain, and she's like, I don't want them. Take them back. And he did.
He took them back.
He took them back. He didn't want slaves. Well, he wanted the slave labor. She didn't.
Sure. I would just, I guess you're free to roam Spain. I'm not taking them back. You know how long that ship ride is?
Alone. So yeah.
Well, and not only alone, but the awkward ship ride back with people you just stole from their land.
Hey, they bought them fair and square, Dave. They barcode.
He's like, hey, can I get anybody a water?
Like, if you guys are thirsty, you're gonna have to wait till we get finals, and you can take a break.
I'll be honest. If I was Columbus, if I landed in the Caribbean, I would have stayed there too. Caribbean's, man. Yeah, it's probably really nice. Nice,
yeah,
clear,
imagine nothing being there.
Nice clear waters. Literally nobody around. It's not like human-rated beaches. It's like nobody there.
Yeah, clear water that you can fish and eat all the food you want off these little islands.
Full coral reef. You could just look at all this stuff. You have no idea what's going on because you don't understand anything about science. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, the Age of Discovery, man, it was a beautiful thing. You know, I never want to see violence or anything. History's written by the victor. These are things we tell ourselves to understand, you know, why we need to try better as society, why we need to use diplomacy, and why we need to have capitalism and success and wealth and healthcare and love, and, you know, these things that can bring people together so that we don't have to revert back to stealing from each other. That's the beautiful thing about money. You know, you trade your hours of your labor to purchase goods. So we weren't bartering or pillaging, raping. It's all it would take for us to go back to that the dark age style of humankind, is get rid of money and have bartering, or, you know, not serfdom, but, you know, let's say I mow your grass all year and then you feed me your bread, or, you know, it'd be a very intricate system. So,
I just for people, for anyone watching who's ever gotten mad about people stealing other people's property, just remember that it happens every paycheck. Keep that same energy, people. Understand, we get our property stolen literally weekly or bi-weekly for some people.
Daily even.
Daily even.
And God forbid you get paid in cash under the table. Shame on you for wanting to keep more of your money.
Yeah.
Because I trust the very people that have mismanaged the most powerful system ever created in humanity.
The same people who are ultra angry about people stealing property are the same people mad at Trump for not having more money stolen from him.
I paid millions in taxes. I never paid millions. Nobody's ever paid more taxes than me.
Pence said that again at the debate. He said he's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes, but he put context on it, and he said, you know, property taxes and payroll taxes and all these things. Now you got a point. That's the difference between Pence and Trump. Pence is far more articulate.
Well, that's a good breakdown too, because you even do it ourselves. Like, yeah, I get taxed on my paycheck, but then you go to the store, there's a sales tax, there's a luxury tax, there's a sugar tax, there's a tire tax, there's a road. Like, yeah, my income tax is whatever percentage, but when you factor in other, it's a larger percentage. Some reason we keep these things separate. When
We do
all
tend to
separate
separate them.
income.
Like, oh man, income tax, man, that's pretty
Yeah.
high. And then you go fill up your car. There's gas tax. Then you go to the store and you pay sales tax, and then
And then your
Yeah.
property tax goes up 85% from mismanaged government locally. Get the fuck out of here. But I'm going to trust these people to regulate Facebook and get them out of monopolies and give me a break. It's a joke. I think it's time. What do you think?
Yep. Be ready. Like I said, be
just-
ready for future episodes. Halloween episode. Pick your president episode. We're gonna do some fun stuff coming up. So stay tuned.
I plan on having a guest or two from now until the end of the year. Sometimes squeeze them in maybe once a month, whatever. They're just some friends of mine or a family member. It's going to be one of the December extra cuts. They're not going to be this long outstanding thing that we've done. We're working with that format. But yeah, we got a ton of cool stuff going on. Dave's doing an awesome job producing and, of course, keeping me on task, steering the ship. But this has been a presentation brought to you by December 1773. As always, I'm Ryan, your host, and Dave, the producer. Stay tuned for Content Weekly. Like and subscribe. If you like the video, share the video. And I hope to see everybody next week. Thanks for sticking around.
Hey, thank you, and thanks everyone for watching.
All right, brother.
See ya.